Watching the Sensesphere channel, and now some chilled discussion after the week's angst, with the Doctor Who Detox Hour, or two. Well, good to see you all again. Another week to cure your chronic bout of cosmic catarrh with the Doctor Who Detox Hour. Lots of nostalgia, goodies and gems today to soothe those special anomalies and anxieties. Welcome to our group therapy for Whovians, a detoxifying tonic before the weekend hits. And of course, the Sensesphere will be busy this Sunday with the full forensic review and ratings analysis, and Saturday with Who Night with a raw reaction and first impressions. And on this channel, we've been doing, I think it's a show a day. We've been doing a show a day to take the Doctor away. Under 35s, Children of Time, vented about their issues about Doctor Who on Tuesday as just one of the many examples. So let's get this detox on the road on this important day for the Australian and New Zealand nations, Anzac Day. Their national commemoration of those who gave their life and risked their life for us all to have a future now. Gallipoli and events surrounding it are seen really as a birth and forging of a national spirit in Australia and New Zealand. So may we share our prayers and wishes on this important day for your nation. And so on that score, I need to bring in Dan first. So good to see you, Dan, on Anzac Day for you.
Good evening, Brendan. Yeah, thank you.
I know, having lived there, I know it's a massive day in Australia, isn't it? I mean, it is a public holiday. It's a day of commemoration, and these are photographs of when I took one of our schools to actually the Australia War Museum. Well, it's more than the War Museum, isn't it? It's the actual kind of. It's like our
it's a memorial.
Yeah, in Canberra.
Yeah, no, it's a big thing.
Yeah. Well, let's get the other Aussie on. Dwayne, good to see you again on Anzac Day for yourselves.
Good to see you fellas too. G'day.
Yeah. So, and of course, Boomer Doug is unwell, so hopefully he's going to get better, and he may be on Who Night. You never know if he recovers. So we've got a substitute from the southern shores of the Wyoming, UK, and that's John Yulden. Hiya.
Hi, how you doing? All right? Good to see you all.
Yes. Well, you see, this
John.
is the
G'day, John.
big day in Australia. This one. Yes, this is when I do. There you go. There I was.
You look like Hitman. Like you're just about to snuff someone out. You know.
Oh, I was
Secret Service.
Update. I was the gaffer, you know. Oh, but yes, those were the days. But yeah, Canberra. Have you two lads done Canberra?
Yeah, no, it's I actually was down there not long ago. I think a few weeks back. Remember, I was on satellite from out in the bush, just up in the mountains, way above Canberra there.
All right, okay. So there you go. I just thought it is important to remember it. You know, ours is the 11th of the 11th in November. But I know this is a big day. In fact, I always found the services in Australia really moving when I was at Brisbane Boys College. Wow. Every kid from age 4 to 18 did something, and it was quite moving, I have to say. So I have fond memories of it.
You look
And
like you're just about to walk up with Turlo, to be honest with you, at any moment, to go and see a statue.
You have to get
Come
the
on,
doctor.
hippo.
yeah. Well, it was a private school, so yeah, you had to wear these strange blazers. Well, there was another remembrance. If I wanted to do a week link this week, and it was of William Hartnell. It was 50 years a couple of days ago, 23rd of April 1975, that the first Doctor, the first actor to play the Doctor, died. I actually remember it. The radio was on, and I was in the back garden, obviously playing. And I remember being confused because I always thought when I'd heard about this first Doctor being described, he sounded like a granddad. My dad must have described him like a granddad. So I thought he was telling me my granddad had died. I remember the confusion when they said that Doctor Who had died. So, oh yeah, bless him. William Hartnell, 67's not an age, is it?
Very young, isn't it? These
It
days.
is.
Well, you think I always find it strange when you talk about, you got like these days, you got like, when you had Capaldi was older than Hartnell when he was playing the Doctor, but it just shows how advanced we've got with, treatments and longevity of life now, because how Capaldi could jump around and do things in his era, but Bill, sadly, he wasn't able to do that because of his health conditions. We knew that it was deteriorating as he went on throughout the show, but the guy's just a legend, isn't he? I mean, it just the original. You can't beat him.
Yeah, and I always hate hearing some of those stories about, he forgot lines or he did this or he did that. And you think, hold on a minute. We all know he had that kind of dementia caused by the vascular thing in the brain. I mean, leave him alone.
But, to be fair though, Brendan, I mean, Capaldi and them were doing like 13 episodes a year. These guys were doing like 52
Close to 50
weeks. Yeah.
And you know what? Also, when I hear comments like that, I mean, because Brendan, my channel, I've been watching from An Unearthly Child, and I'm doing chronologically. I'm doing the run all the way through to present day, and it's what people don't talk about enough of Hartnell, and he's wonderful at it. Is they always talked about him as being this miserable Doctor, but he's not. He's actually quite cheeky. When you watch his stories and the way he does it, what a fantastic actor. It's the close up facial expressions he does to camera as well. It's great acting. It really is.
Well, of course, the famous bit in An Earthly Child is obviously the bit with the rock that everybody quotes at some point, but I just like this. We seem to be at a stalemate, young man. Put down the rock and now put down man. Yeah, sometimes I think it's a misconstrued all that, what they were trying to set up, isn't it? But yes, so we'll be talking about the best of William Hartnell today. Fair enough. We all kind of go to the battlements talking about Fugitive Doctor wasn't the first, but sometimes then nobody mentions William Hartnell and you think, well, actually, put your money where your mouth is. You know me, like my colour Who, Tinted Who did this one. I just adore these ones. I mean, just colorize everything, please. Now, our national consciousness, unlike the Australians and the New Zealanders today, has been dwelling on other things like what's going to go on in Lux. What will happen in Lux? Not Lux, the Well on Saturday. The Well.
Avert my eyes, please.
Well, I've seen it's caused an awful lot of comment amongst those people in the Doctor Who world who are obsessed with this sort of thing.
You mean Brendan?
I'm feeding your lines, Dan. I'm feeding your lines.
He's painting it.
I mean, he's obviously
Mr. Ding-a-ling. He makes Brendan go swing.
I mean, he was a cartoon last week, so I just thought, well, look at that shot there, and that I'm not far off, am I?
It's like two planets colliding in a pair of pants, isn't it? It's that bad.
So spoilers, everybody. That's what he's going to look like this week. So yeah. So have you got? I mean, I know Dwayne, you're not watching it, but you just hear about it. John's not watching it, so it's just me and thee, Dan. Dan, are you looking forward to the Well? Because I like the look of the clips.
Oh, look, there's a small part of me that's praying that they get down there and it's like, ta-da, there's Cybermen or something. something.
Oh, missing episodes. Oh.
I like all this talk about it being a Midnight sequel. Like Midnight is
Yeah.
good, but I don't want it ruined by being told too much.
Yeah, I know. No more sequels at the moment, really. Just write a good story and don't rely on another story to make this a good story. But yeah.
And I know
So-
I'm a guy that hasn't watched, and I'm not watching it. But isn't this further example of RTD's run out of ideas now that he's going back to mine stuff that he did previously? If it is the rumors are true and it is a sequel to Midnight, because I agree with you, Dan. I mean, guys, Midnight for me is a standalone. You should never try and tag anything onto that. Just like you shouldn't try and tag anything onto Pyramids of Mars, really. But I just get the feeling that there's a creative vacuum now where the new ideas have gone and they're trying to mine more and more of the past to try and.
But the thing is, though, it contradicts the overall strategy that they said they were going for about creating a new show, new audience, and then they're locking on to things that are 20 years apart, 15 years apart, and the audience is completely different. So what the links are tenuous, and when they do link it, they're not paying. They're not doing it justice. So what's the point? I mean, there's 100 ways you could have done Sutek better, but yeah.
In Doctor Who magazine, about an issue or so back, Russell T Davies warned people not to, go on Twitter or online if they were going to wait till tea time and the evening to watch Doctor Who on Saturday, because he said there's a killer reveal in episode 3. So, yes, this well and whatever secret that girl's got, that character, there's a killer reveal warning everybody. Russell T Davies is saying you're going to have to kind of run away like the Likely Lads did in that comedy, trying to avoid the World Cup results, because honestly, I know I have a feeling that girl is the key, and she either changes, because she has given an interview saying she had to do a gross transformation, or whether something is open down there, the usual story. He never does a complex plot, so somebody's locked behind a door, it reveals the door. Omega is now 1 minute with Omega for the end of the season, and the next minute it's the Rani. But as you just said, John, it's just all kind of all over the shop regarding sequels and everything.
Can I just jump back to the connection to Midnight for a second?
Yeah.
And if someone were to ask me what was your favorite RTD script before this current era, because they're all just wonderful in the last 2 years, it's amazing. I would have said probably Midnight would have been my favorite script of his that he did. But just thinking about it now, what made that episode was not just the script, but the amazing cast that was there. You had David Tennant was doing a great Doctor. That actress who was against Tennant for the episode was incredible. All that cast was just sensational. I don't think we could possibly get a cast as good as that if we were to give them the exact same script, how it would be today. I think if Shooty were given that script, I don't even know if he could do it. I don't think he's got the acting chops to be able to perform a script like that. So, but we will see. We will see.
Well, Kevin Taylor, here, good to see you. Rumor is that The Well will be the best episode of the series. It certainly looks. I've been saying I want it dark, and it does look as though it might be dark, and I just hope so. I really do hope so. I just want to pick up something John said, because on the Sense Free, we do try and give balance. Now, if you see my thumbnails, I do give it to RTD quite a lot when it's deserved, but I think to push back on John just slightly, John.
You're going to tell me off.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking of RTD for a second. This is the 3rd episode, and of course, it might link with Midnight. So I understand your point. The Robot Revolution stands on its own. He would argue. RTD would say, "Well, that was a new idea." and the animation one he would also argue, stands on its own 2 feet. I'm just saying that because to try and just play devil's advocate slightly.
But with those, I get that. But I mean, again, full transparency, I haven't watched them, but people have told me that effectively, the Robot Revolution is kind of a bit of a riff off of Smith and Jones from earlier Doctor Who. So, is it now variations on a theme now with RTD, where he's basically just going back to what he called the successful playbook, and he's going, right, okay, we're just going to swap out these elements and put these in, and effectively we've got kind of the same underlayer for a story, but just different characters and different potential villains. Am I correct on that? Do you guys think that, Robot Revolution, as an example, was that kind of a riff off of Smith and Jones?
I certainly don't remember the Doctor doing a high kick and yelling out Queen in the
yeah, that was an underlayer. Yeah.
I'll say what I'm noticing is that I was binge watching some season 5 today of Moffat's era, and I can see tropes that Moffat's used this year in the last season, and I can see tropes that RTD's revisiting, but the execution is nowhere near as good as where it turns up in their original runs.
Yeah.
There's just, you can just feel that the energy, the hunger that went into the scripts, it's just not, and rewatching it, the memory's not cheating. It is as good as we remember it. But what we've got here at the moment is, I just don't think the guys running this are as hungry as they need to be to create good stuff. And I think we're seeing lots of laziness in the actual constructions of the scripts.
Well, one thing that has concerned people. Oh, sorry, go on, Dren.
What I do appreciate about the era over the last couple of years is that it's made me appreciate things that I didn't appreciate so much. Like Sleep No More to me now is a stone cold classic compared to anything that's come since Capaldi left. So if anything, it's really shone a light on how good everything was.
I've done a rewatch of Capaldi's era, all three seasons, for all the things that I thought it was slipping at the time. It feels like Shakespeare today.
Yeah, and I've gone back recently and I've watched Capaldi again, and I know people have said it wasn't the most successful era of Doctor Who, but I personally really enjoyed the Capaldi era. But I think my argument has always been with people when people push back and they say, oh, you just hate Shooty. That's not the case at all. I'll always, as I was saying, in the private chat earlier, I'll always give someone a chance when they come into the role. But what you'd have when you have the Capaldi stories is, even if the story isn't particularly good, there's a Capaldi moment in it where his acting is so good, he just raises it. And I think when you've got someone like Shooty, I just don't think, kind of what Dwayne was saying a few minutes ago, I don't think he's got the ability to try and lift it to that level that Capaldi could. And I think that's where you go back and you think, right, okay, great, Capaldi's excellent as a Doctor here. And it's enjoyable. Well,
obviously that people are more concerned nowadays not about the storyline or what villains coming up. It's about the fact that it's given me a problem about what cosplay to wear next time I go out. As a cosplay, it's a nightmare that he does keep changing because you can't wear something and be only his like that other Doctors have. It's causing people stress, this. And so, come on, RTD, the cosplayers are really distressed. These are the things bothering people at the moment in the nation. There you go.
The cosplayers that he had in last week's episode were wearing classic era stuff, weren't they?
Yeah. And good luck trying to get me to cosplay and get into that spacesuit. Blimey.
Yeah, I know.
I need oxygen put in for a drip or something, I think, because I'll be sucking my gut in.
So, oops, there's another backside. So, this obviously is the we're bottoming out in this section of the program.
So, yeah, and you've also got Nissa coming in at the side as well, which just throws up a whole new serious problem there, mate.
Another
She's
one
going-
of Brendan's awakening shots.
This is going. Have you farted? No, so I mean, this is just sorry. We have the Peladon jokes, and I think we're going to have Adric in every week.
Is that a radio telescope, or are you just happy to see me?
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. So anyway, I thought I'd just cheer up. So we've got the best and worst special effects in Doctor Who. That's coming up. So stick around for that. And of course, yes, I've been around.
What's wrong with the dressing?
Talk about my awakening.
Look at the look of disgust on your face there in that picture of the
Yeah,
right.
he looks confused.
Yeah, what's that? What's other one?
On
What
the
were they
right,
called?
you've just been told not to touch the props by staff, haven't you?
What did they call Joanna Lumley's? Joanna Lumley's, protuberances. What did they call him in that comedy we had? The
Dalek bumps.
That's it. Yes.
Etheric beam
But
locators.
Jonathan Price had them, so that's fine.
So yes, I just thought, oh God, all the nightmares here. Love of monsters, for the love of God, for the love of God. But yes, and there's me praying that this era goes away. We normally now do our.
Love what you're doing with your hair there too, by the way, Brendan, with the little hair flick down the.
Oh, let's have a look. The hair flick. Let's have a look. Lost myself.
It's just
There
very
you go.
Superman, isn't it?
Yes,
Yes.
very, very.
Well, a few people were saying, "Oh, well, he had hair then." Gee, God, right. So, so it's our ups and downs of the week. So get ready, folks. Okay, so ups and downs of the week. Okay, Dan, your thoughts?
Well, I've on and up. Sorry, I had this all prepped.
Sounds like a down. Sounds like a down. He's a big sigh.
No, I've watched an incredible amount of Doctor Who this week. Been cleaning up, watching the Silurians on the Blu-ray, and I think they've done a fantastic job on that season 7 box set. And I got to enjoy. I'm halfway through the rewatch on season 5 with Matt Smith, and I just loving it. So I'm very chilled tonight, I think. So my down is I accidentally pre-ordered 2 War Games in color, which I had to pay for. So yeah,
You were so
We could have a
excited.
solution to that, though.
yeah. No, I'll quite happily send it over to Dwayne.
There's a burning at midnight.
Just don't need 2 of them.
Yeah.
A giant wicker filled with War Games in color box sets. Yeah.
I was going to say, I'll send it to the person that can write a paragraph on why the War Chief is the Master.
Yeah.
Oh, don't tell Michael Herbert that. Oh, I do wrong that. So, Dwayne, your ups and downs of the Doctor Who week.
All right, I'll start with an up, which is a very pleasant up that I experienced over just the last couple of days, and that is Big Finish have recently released a box set called Planet Crinoid. So it's not specifically Doctor Who, although the 8th Doctor does appear in one of the episodes, but it stars Rhys Shearsmith from Sleep No More, League of Gentlemen, and it is really, really well done. The Crinoids are a great monster, but they don't say much, so you may think how they could be menacing on audio, but the sound effects are really good. It's extremely dark. There is a trigger warning at the start of the episode saying that the content in here is so violent, it's not recommended for. Oh, not so violent. I think they say it's so dark, it's not recommended for younger listeners. So they put the warning on the front of it. It's more like a Torchwood style of story than anything else, but much better.
Did they do trigger warnings like plants will be damaged and stuff? Like
No plants were harmed in the. No, they weren't, because
Yeah.
they all ate all the animals. It was, yeah, all the animals were harmed in the making of that.
Oh, that's all right.
But yeah, that's really really enjoyable. I really enjoyed that one, because I did a Zygon one recently, which I didn't enjoy so much. So I was kind of a bit trepidatious about the crinoid one. But yeah, top marks for that one.
How could you have the crinoids without Harrison Chaser?
Oh, you'll have to listen and find out.
Dan, if it's audio, I was just about to say you can't have Harrison Chase because he can't play music, can he? I mean, can you imagine listening to all that noise? Disaster.
Yeah, that'd be pretty tough. As far as the down goes, well, can I just get something off my chest?
Oh, aye. You tell us,
because with the ratings, with the overnights that come out, I watch what goes on online, and I see the same comments over and over again from everybody. There are those who say this is the end of Doctor Who. This is the lowest ratings Doctor Who has ever seen, which is absolutely true. But at the other side, people say, oh, the Disney doesn't care about ratings. The BBC doesn't care about ratings. Nothing matters. My question is, if it doesn't matter, then why are they published in the first place? Why is the data collected? Because obviously there's an expense involved in getting this data. There's an expense involved in actually subscribing to the service to get the data. Why is that happening if it's not important? Obviously it's important. And I still go back to, well, okay, there's arguments on both sides if you want to look at the pure data of it. But I go along with the vibe as well, and how I feel about it, and how other people are feeling about it, how merchandise has gradually disappeared over the years, all these other different factors. The overnight ratings, although it doesn't matter completely in the scheme of things, there are other factors to be taken into consideration too. It's still a massive drop on the previous week, and people still deny it. I cannot understand why people deny that there is an issue with losing almost a quarter of the audience in 1 week. It's just insane that people would think, oh, there's nothing wrong here. Don't look here. I don't understand it, and I feel like getting involved and saying, come on, I'm putting my reasoning in as well, but I just don't bother with that because I could just waste so much time.
Yeah.
But come on, people, wake up.
It's
These ratings, they mean something.
I think you're right. And I think also, it's like, well, hang on a minute. You're telling me that a company any company that is producing a program or a show, what can they do for a common sense metric to decide whether their financial investment in that show is worthwhile? Could it be that you keep an eye on overnight viewing figures logically? I mean, it's baffling, isn't it? That's something that's important. It's crazy. And I'm like you, I see it all the time, and I'm like, well, I'm never going to change these people's minds on it regardless. So I let them.
And of course, Bad Wolf's going to come out and come up with that metric. Oh, we are the number one rated in this particular age group. Yeah. Well, that's all well and good, but if it's only 50,000, 100,000 in that age group that are watching, it doesn't matter if you're number one. It's still not getting the numbers you want.
But this is what I mean. It was classic. We were discussing this just yesterday. It felt like children 4 to 15. It's Gladiators that's the top thing. Then Britain's Got Talent. So basically two kind of classic, variety type shows. Then Bluey. Then some game show, then The Apprentice, and then Doctor Who. Now, since RTD seems to think he's got all the answers for the kiddies, he's way off the beam there. That's why, as you say, Dwayne, they say it's the top drama for under 35s because they have to be quite specific. It's not the top show or anything. Then you go to the 16 to 34-year-olds, and Doctor Who's there in third place, again behind The Apprentice, which is really what it's about, business contracts and stuff. I mean, and then on the right-hand side, you can see a whole load of soap operas done nicely and cheaply, a classic conveyor belt of TV, all beating Doctor Who, with no streaming platform, no marketing hype, and all the rest of it. And as you say, Dwayne, whatever metric you want to choose to back up your argument, those people out there, I'm sorry, but when you add all this together, it's not in a good place. And my analogy now is, if they are not bothered about overnights at all, then actually don't have terrestrial schedules, because really they should just dump everything. Just dump everything online, and then we'll decide when to watch it. If they are bothered about overnights, they design a schedule. Because what is the reason for BBC One to actually have a Saturday night schedule if they don't count? You might as well just dump them all on.
Can
Now,
I
the other
use
metric that I always look at too, in the current, because people say, "Oh, this is how current television is," but they were saying that 12 months ago too, when the 60th anniversary specials dropped. There's a marked difference between the 60th anniversary specials, which got 7 million consolidated, and then Shooty's first, which got 4 million. They dropped by 3 million in the space of 3 months, almost half. So how do you explain that? Well, easy. It's crap. That's why.
Yeah, and you can see it. You can see it on the night because you got things like the news, and you can see there's people literally on watching the BBC, and then they all go, "Shit, Doctor Who's on! Quick, turn it off."
Yeah.
Okay, so can I use this then for my beloved Battlefield and say I'm using the 30+ year data, which now says that Battlefield has got something like 18 million views now because I'm using DVD, VHS, and collection recordings now. So we'll throw that one out there now. So it's a record breaker.
Well, let's get all the Battlefield views off the Hooniverse as well, off iPlayer, and add them.
Exactly. Farsight Lux needs a 74% increase in the 7-day ratings to do as well as the Robot Revolution. And the Robot Revolution was an average to slightly lower start to a season. It obviously, in comparison to Space Babies, was like blooming Brecht or something, but it still was pretty lame. So yes, and that was the dramatic one, wasn't it, on the ratings? So you got us in there, Dwayne, on those, but we can't deny this. Dan, you predicted 1.85. Let me just remind everybody whether we have to listen to these people. 1.58 it got, and you said 1.85.
Doug.
I'm playing Doug today, so thanks everyone.
Yeah, Doug was on the money. He was texting straight away saying how right he was, and of course, me and Dan got the same figure on, and Dwayne. I mean,
I was way off.
Yeah, you were being. Thank God we don't go on the overnights, Dwayne. No. But anyway,
I mean, it just
actually that's the consolidated figure.
When I saw the 1.58 though, my jaw was on the floor. I was like, "Holy crap, that is bad."
Yeah, and again, it's the usual excuses I saw pop out. There was 2 solar eclipses. There was a giant chicken flying backwards. That's why people weren't watching it for the night. The usual stuff.
It still doesn't justify why people turned off the TV from the shows before, and then they came back in the minute it was over.
The thing is, for us fans, for fans like us who enjoy the show, ratings don't matter. That's who the ratings don't matter to, us, because we can go back to Battlefield and go, that was the lowest rated in the world, and still love it. Whereas
exactly.
There are still people who can watch something in this current era and love it, and that's okay. They're a fan of the current era. So what? So that's where the ratings don't matter. But I think from if I look at my business, because I run my own business, if I'm looking at figures like that going down and down and down, I don't go, oh, that doesn't matter. Things are different. Things were different 3 months ago, So, I look at the pure data and I think there is a problem here. I've got to do something.
And again, you're absolutely right on that, because if I talk about not just like the BBC potentially cancelling Doctor Who, but we talk about Disney for a second. Disney would have seen the data for season 1, and Disney will look at that, and let's be honest, Disney is probably one of the most woke companies on the planet. So if it's doing fairly well, they're going to sign it up. Now, they would have looked at that data and gone, well, hang on a minute. The alleged, $100 million it was that they invested in Doctor Who for this era, they would have then gone, well, hang on a minute, we're spending all this money, but this is the return we're getting on it. No, let's pull the plug on it, because Disney have got enough problems financially with other things going on at the moment as it is. So you can see why they're doing that. And it's not you know, it's a very logical approach to it from a business perspective, isn't it? It's crazy. But I was just going to quickly say to you guys, look, as I said, I haven't seen season 2, but you guys that have, with regards to season 1, the opener for season 1 and the opener for season 2, do they feel like openers to 2 new seasons, or do they feel like it's just an extension of the previous season? Because the reason I ask that is, have they, my view is that they just filmed it. Well, they filmed it as a block anyway, didn't they? Season 1 and 2. But is it just literally, it's effectively a season 1, but they've just chopped it up, and the Robot Revolution, they've said, right, this is going to be our season 2 opener. Does it feel like a season opener to you when you watch it?
Look, I mean, I suppose it is a bit of a restart because it is introducing a new companion, but did it resonate? I'm not surprised people tuned out the week after. There was things in that episode that I thought I'd never see the Doctor do. And I don't, it's not in my nature to be not my Doctor. I genuinely like, all the interpretations of the Doctor. But there are ones that I would prefer over others. And I think in recent times, I think it is possible. We've seen evidence that it is possible to mess it up or not execute it very well. Sorry.
I think I mean, let's face it. I mean, I'm streaming every day. If you keep doing something, you're learning as you're going, and adapting. And although they're back to back, I do think RTD internally has been thinking as he's gone along. He's got the same template because he's got this plan of the gods and everything. But I think it felt much more confident and well done and well executed. I mean, Robot Revolution, I've got loads of issues with, but it looked great and he wanted it to look retro. I didn't like the retro, but he wanted that look. Well, there, give it to him. The look of the cinema one was fantastic and the animation worked. It was a misuse of the animation because they needed a better plot. But I actually do think it's a stronger start than season 1, definitely.
Lux, the beginning of Lux, I was really interested because it had a feeling of, yes, we've gone somewhere different. We're in a time period here. There's a mystery here. And I was actually enjoying Shooty's performance. It wasn't till the whole thing where it's like, we just ran out of story and we went into the whole cameo with the fans, and that's when the whole thing unraveled for me.
I mean, I do think there's a plan there. I don't think it's satisfactory to do it, but he's gone there. Matt McGee has said, "What a wonderful stream! Thank you very much. Enjoying my morning coffee in the US with you fine people. Predictions on the numbers for the next Doctor Who episode." Now he says 1.78 million, and I'm about to ask you 3. Here we go. Right, okay, so me and Dan, we were rubbish last week. In fact, all of us were the only one who got it right, isn't he? So, Dan, what are you going to say for this week?
Look, I think we're going to get a little bump back, is my guess. I'm going to go with 1.7.
1.7, okay. Dwayne?
Surely it can't go lower than that. It's got to stop, surely. But I'm going to go for 1.49. It's going to dip below 1.5.
Okay.
But I reckon the consolidated for that episode will be under 3. absolutely be under 3. It'd be probably 2.9, 2.95, something like that.
Interesting, John.
I think it's going to have a little uptick. I'm going to go about 1.6.
Okay, I've got down here, it's already written 1.67. So
Doug's in the chat and he's saying 1.65.
well, should I feel better that I'm closer to Doug's prediction this time?
If he gets that right, then you've got to keep an eye on him because he's clearly some sort of time traveler, isn't he, Doug? You know. If
yeah, well,
He has been around since Hartnell.
He's lived for so long that, you know, and he's obviously on medication, which is making him see things as well. So I don't know.
I said to Brendan said we're doing Hartnell stuff tonight. I said, oh, Boomer Doug's, you know, he was there, so
yeah, he was. Well, he said in the thread earlier it was his third granddad, William Hartnell. Really, that's the way he saw it. So okay, well, that was since Dwayne brought in the ratings at that point. The other thing that we were just discussing at the very beginning here, just on the ups and downs of the week. This only affects the UK. I can't help you in Australia at the moment. I'm sorry. Classic series on UK TV starting at 5:20 on Monday, the 5th of May. UK TV channel You and Eden will begin broadcasting the classic series of Who, starting with season 7 opening story Spearhead from Space, and continuing that season with 4 episodes a night on weeknights. Well, that's something, because, you know, we all buy our merchandise, we all buy our hard copies, and, you know, a lot of people still don't, you know, it's good that you get the general public watching this, but can only be good news, but it's not for me because obviously I don't like adverts in the middle of it and all the rest of it. So
I don't know why they don't. Why that's a lot of episodes to show every single day. Why not one episode a night like they used to on cable TV when it started here?
This is what took me. This is sorry, Brendan.
Sorry, unless it's just to try and, you know, get interest in your channel, and you think, oh, we'll get colour Pertwee and we'll blast that Doctor Who season and see how many people will discover our channel suddenly, and then they'll slow down. Because yeah, I know what you mean. It's like, whoa.
I think there's definitely an element of that, because this is now owned 100% by the BBC. You and Eden, I think, isn't it? From memory, from doing a bit of digging. But I also think, for me, this is also a sign that the Whoniverse on BBC iPlayer is going to be disappearing very soon. You know, they haven't announced anything, but I would see that being the case. A positive side to me would also say that this is an element to almost try and encourage people to get back into great Doctor Who, and almost try and rebuild and re-strengthen the brand that's been damaged quite a bit over the last few years. So whether it does well, I don't know, but you know, like you, I'll stick to the collections because I don't like adverts. But you know, it's nice to see some good Doctor Who on.
It's just that Spearhead from Space and Pertwee's first season is doing a lot of work at the moment. It's got the Blu-rays just come out. You've got this. We've just had the special Panini release of that season. It's like, it's almost as if, and of course the War Games in colour, which Dan's got 20 copies of, and he'll be doing a boot sale next week. At the end, we lead into Pertwee, don't we? So I mean, it's doing a lot of heavy duty this season.
Can I just say, Sonny Waffles, you are wrong. You are dead wrong. I'd love to go head to head with you as to why Spearhead is so good.
I'll back you up on that one, Dwayne. You know,
I'll ask Sonny next tomorrow night. He's on our Who night, so I'll ask him. He has been watching Troughton and Pertwee, and he does like them. But you know,
Time Lash. That's a big call. Wow. Liking both, but yeah, one over the other. That's tough. But just on Dwayne's point, this is what got me down the rabbit hole this morning, because I was looking at I wanted to see what Doctor Who was sitting on ABC at the moment and when it was airing, and I downloaded the TV guide, and it was your case in point, Dwayne, is that we all grew up with like we were lucky in Australia because we got so much Doctor Who
Yeah.
reruns just played over and over again. And you could set your clock to the fact that Doctor Who was on every night, on a weeknight, and it came on like the news. You just knew that there was going to be an episode every night, right through the 80s and even in the 90s it was still going on, and you knew you could tune into it and you could take it or leave it, but the lineup was there. You had set lineups and everyone was watching the same sort of thing. I was looking at the ABC and they've got New Who replaying at 4:15 a.m., 4:30 a.m., 3:20 a.m. on all different times on every bloody day, and then they've got it in the afternoon, at 2:30 in the afternoon. It's like, what kid's going to be sitting there watching Doctor Who at 2:30 in the afternoon? Like, it needs to be on in like the actual evening, like it used to be. It's I don't know what these programmers are on.
Well, I
It's
think
crazy.
they're getting desperate and clueless, really. Farsight, Dad watched An Unearthly Child back in '63, like Boomer Doug, you see, and was hooked. He saw all those great shows back then, The Avengers, Quatermass. He loved every one of them. It was a great time. I mean, let's be honest. Squinty Minty here, the BBC tried repeating everything from Spearhead in the hiatus. They got as far as the Silurians, skipped to Genesis, and the season was over. I'm trying to remember. Do you know what? It was like gold dust trying to find a blooming repeat on BBC. I thought, apart from those Christmas ones when you got an omnibus, I found it was like a barren time, I thought. Now, the other thing we sometimes do to kind of help our kind of detoxifying process is we go down memory lane. So I think since we're going to be looking at William Hartnell in a minute, let's go down memory lane. Here we go.
These sensorites have found a way to take control.
It's our minds that they take over.
Speak up, I can't hear.
Earthmen have visited the set sphere, but we do not wish to.
Yeah, good old Hartnell there, and actually in the sensorites. Our scheduled slumber blanket. So this is just taking a couple of lovely days in the past and just kind of reflecting on what could have been. So, here's one, timey-wimey, 1986. Take a look at this, lads. I know this is set in Britain. I apologise. I keep trying to find Aussie ones, and as really, Dan, you've just been pointing out, it is quite, I don't know, it's hard to find fixed ones from the past, I find it really hard. So here we've got, excuse me, 6th of September, 86. News, Roland Rat, The Trial of a Time Lord, Telly Addicts with Noel Edmonds, Every Second Counts with Paul Daniels from Middlesbrough, The Russ Abbott Show, great variety show, fun, Casualty, drama, Saturday Night at the Movies, Saturn 3, and then Blot on the Landscape, like a black humour right at the end there. I mean, I mean, I might as well start with John first because he'll recognise that really, because you'll have been about 7, would you?
Yeah. So that was me. That was my time, it was Roland Rat. And then I was adored that. Obviously, absolutely loved Doctor Who. Remember Trial of a Time Lord when it was first on. And then I would sit with the family and we'd watch Telly Addicts, which was massively popular at the time as well. So
did you ever, I used to have my video recorder ready when Telly Addicts was on, and I'd have it ready in case I showed a clip of Doctor Who. This is how desperate everybody was. And I was like, oh, and the trouble is, as soon as you start the blooming thing, and you might only get a 10-second clip. Oh, God. And then there was writing all over it, wasn't there? So, I mean, you never quite.
It's great.
That's how desperate I was.
Great times.
I like how there's like 5 minutes there for regional news. It's like no news is good news in the regions.
Well, at that time in the UK, it was literally regionally. It was like, nothing has happened here today.
John,
Carry on.
John, hold on. With these Aussie detoxes, I need to kind of... when I went backpacking around Australia in 89, 90, right, Dan? I tell you what, I saw the news in Perth, Western Australia. And when the news came on, the news, and this is the national news, the it'll have been National 9 or something like that. And their news #1, because they mixed the local news with international news. And the first item, John, you won't believe this. The first item was some chucks have been nicked from somebody's hen house. And then item 2 was the Berlin Wall came down. I mean, only in Australia could you have the chucks being nicked before the
It's
Berlin
true.
Wall.
Like if you,
Priorities.
when even 20 years ago, if you went outside of the metro city and you got into regional TV, like it was noticeably, or it is noticeably different. It's quite entertaining. All the adverts is like, it's just a different feel to it, and it's very, very Aussie humor, Aussie. Yeah, it's just all the ads are kind of hokey, and it's quite entertaining to watch, actually. I don't know what they're like down in Tassie.
When I first moved here, they were very, very regional, I can tell you. They've moderned up a bit over the last 20 years, but it was very entertaining when I first came. But interestingly, Trial of a Time Lord for Australia, most of the episodes took about 12 months to get out here, so I would have seen it in 1987. And at the time, they were screening Doctor Who on Saturday afternoons in 2-episode compilations. So you get 2 episodes at a time. So when I started recording, it was just after Trial of a Time Lord finished. I was recording off air on beta cassette. And so my first episode was Robots of Death. So I'd have 2 episodes and then another 2 episodes, same with Talons and so on. So, and then shortly after that, by the end of season 15, they'd extended it to complete stories. So they were all omnibuses after that on a Saturday afternoon. So for a good year or two there, it was Saturday afternoons was the 1 o'clock was the time slot for Doctor Who.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, he's just one more before we get wading into good old William Hartnell. And this one, I thought, well, knowing John, I mean, he's got his channel, and we've got a few streamers here. We've got Sirens of Audio with Dwayne, who obviously we'll hear more about today again, and Sci-Fi Chronicles with John. And I can guess from that, because you put 79 at the end, I'm guessing that was your birth year. So
Yes.
I've gone for your birth year. There you go.
I'm a nipper.
So, Grandstand, cartoons, news, Junior That's Life, Destiny of the Daleks, Larry Grayson's Generation Game, Seaside Special with unmentionable people, and then Roy Castle. Saturday Night at the Movies, news, match of the day. Not much changes, but that's a tasty lineup for me. I can imagine my quarters of sweets and all set fair there.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, me as a little baby on my liquid sat there in front of the telly, you know, it's fantastic, mate. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, kept away from. You'll have been safely tucked in bed before Seaside Special came on. That's probably good.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, I mean, I show these two, Dwayne and Dan, and I know that a lot of it fed into Australia. I mean, the Australians know Morecambe and Wise pretty well, and other goodies, and I could list loads of stuff, obviously. When you've seen these 2 TV nights, which ones have crossed over to Australia, so to speak? Russ Abbott, did he get over there?
I don't
recall that. No. To be honest, there's not much there that made it here other than Doctor Who.
Okay. Roland Rat, did he not make it?
Nope.
No.
Maybe the slightly regional accent there. Oh, well, there you go. So
closest we got was Mighty Mouse, wasn't it?
Mighty Mouse.
Yeah. Danger Mouse.
Danger Mouse. That's what it was.
Danger Mouse. So here we go. Let's get onto the real Doctor Who business here. So William Hartnell, 23rd of April, 1975 was when he sadly died. And luckily we'd seen him in a very little cameo in the 3 Doctors just a few years earlier. But, you know, you just have to look at so many interviews with him about he could see the importance of this Doctor Who and what it meant to him. And I just love looking at this because you can see him with the kids. And gosh, for somebody who's played such a strict role, you know, sergeant majors and all that sort of, it must have been amazing and heartwarming. And that's what Mark Gatiss, I think, got across quite nicely. in his adventures in time and space. But in this article that I found, they were talking about how they had doubts about Doctor Who in those days. Now we know they would talk about whether it would last and all the rest of it. But William Hartnell did have belief in it, and it talks that through. He did argue the toss. So you had somebody at the beginning, an advocate for the program. And I just think, I know life's always like this with family members and everything, but I wish this man had seen it, say, to the 50th. And saw how, because at the 50th, it was mega, wasn't it? And to have actually seen conventions, because can you imagine any sci-fi convention when the original Doctor goes on stage? I mean, whoa. That's a shame. It's just a shame that's missed.
Yeah. Boom Doug makes a point in the chat, and I was on the shop before. Hartnell was in a very dodgy TARDIS. I just don't understand, if you're setting out to make something like that, why isn't it a little bit more accurate? I mean, we need to up the standards when it comes to police box manufacture.
Oh, well, I look at his garden. I mean, look at that. I mean, but this is what I mean. I mean, we know what shoot he wears at lots of award ceremonies. We know what colour underpants he wears. We know loads of stuff like that. But look at this, the original Doctor with his wife in the garden digging, and signing letters for fans, and looks as though he's I don't know, that picture on the left. I don't know if is he horse racing or something, doing checking out the horses.
It looks like it. He's got the Fifth Doctor's cricket jumper on the right, though, isn't he? You know, by the looks of it.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You see, so there is some consistency.
What makes him look so old, though? Jesus.
Yeah. He's younger than me.
It must be the smokes and the drinking. I don't know.
We're lucky when we were born, aren't we? Because yes, I'm older than him now. I don't think there's anything anybody's done, is it? It's just the genes, isn't it? So yes, William Hartnell, there he is, the actual man as opposed to the first Doctor. So lads, it gives us a great opportunity to just kind of go down that lovely nostalgia and memory lane and talk about the Hartnell stories that you do enjoy, or the Hartnell moments that you like, or the Hartnell monsters, and that sort of thing. This is obviously the famous moment that the Five Doctors made even more famous when he said goodbye to Susan, isn't it? Colorized. Oh, colorized. I'm a glutton for it. Oops. Oh, hell. Oh, oops. Made a slight wrong turn there. Jealousy's an evil thing, Jodie. Terrible thing. So yes, so just as you're thinking, this is what I kind of found from a few people who were kind of writing about William Hartnell's era, about the best of his era. Now, there is no consensus, it seems to me, lads, so you've got a nice open one here. Some say Unearthly Child, Dalek Invasion of Earth, Aztecs is pretty much perfect. However, the War Machines is incredibly influential in terms of setting out a whole new way of telling Doctor Who stories. It sets the template for all those contemporary Earth stories, is that argument. Another one for Dalek Invasion of Earth. It's one of those episodes that goes beyond the show itself and ends up an excellent drama in its own right. And then other people, I never tire of the Ark. My favourite bit is when we see the completed statue as a monoid head. And then others are talking about the Edge of Destruction, saying, well, I know it's a bit Marmite, but if you liked Midnight, you'll like the Edge of Destruction. And if you like Midnight, you might like the Well. Sorry, they didn't say that bit, yeah. So what are your thoughts, lads, so far as we dwell on the William Hartnell years? Dwayne, I know you've I don't know, you've seen a fair few, etc., and you've dealt with the Big Finish as well. What would you pick out?
As far as the first Doctor goes, there are not, well, if it's a specific story, I always love the Time Meddler myself, but there are moments that the first Doctor has throughout his tenure that I really like really soft moments. Yeah, as you said, he has that reputation for being grumpy and aggressive even. But there are moments like in Edge of Destruction, which we were just mentioning, where he apologizes to Barbara for upsetting her so much, and really comes down to earth to apologize to her. There's the departure of Susan, where he gives that amazing speech at the end of that. There's the way he takes Vicky on, and you can really tell that he cares about the fact that she's an orphan and she's got no one, and he takes her on. And I think that's really nice. The depth of sorrow that he obviously felt when Barbara and Ian left at the end of the chase. There's probably a bit of personal feeling in there as well, judging from what we know about what he was thinking at the time. Other things too. I really love the opening scenes of the war machines as well, where he's sort of mucking about with Dodo, putting that out of order sign on the TARDIS. I really think so. There's all these little moments all the way through that are quintessentially the First Doctor and William Hartnell. They always stand out to me.
Before I move on to the others, Dwayne, I mean, obviously I can't help but when you do kind of compare in different ways. This is why people get argumentative about Doctor Who. So when we think of the First Doctor, do you think if anyone was actually deciding to appoint a 16th Doctor, let's just say, and they want to reboot Doctor Who a little bit and get back to where we were, do you think there is a possibility of a First Doctor characterization, return to the basics of the Doctor's character? Do you think that would get any weight or gravitas in 2025? Do you think an audience would like it?
That's a good question. Because the way the Doctor was cast, and had always been cast in classic era, or mostly, particularly the first 10 years at least, if not 15, was that he was a character that you could always look up to and always feel safe with, but he was always slightly above the rest of the cast. Like, he had a slightly more intelligence than everyone else, but you felt safe. You didn't feel in danger from him, and you didn't feel he was ever going to let you down. But I think main characters these days, I don't know if someone would want to cast someone like that. They'd want to bring someone like, with Ncuti in particular, they brought him to be just like everyone else. So he doesn't have that level above like the Doctor always had in the original series. He doesn't have the ultimate solution to all the problems like the Doctor used to have. It's other people. So he's on too much of the same level and too human. Even though Time Lords hadn't been invented at the time Hartnell was there, he still had that quality about him all the way through his tenure. Like, there was that alienness about him that was really good. Yeah.
Well, what I also
he was also relatable as a grandfatherly type too.
Yeah, what I really liked about that First Doctor characterization, and I know Ian Chesterton was set up so that he could do all the running and round and all the classic heroic stuff, but it therefore meant that the template was set that the Doctor's characterization could be aloof sometimes, could be different, could be mysterious, and almost unlikable at times, and not have to run around and jump off cliffs or rooftops. That actually New Who has dumbed down the Doctor into a kind of Marvel light superhero with weird clothes. And I think, I do think sometimes you have to go back to basics on this one. Reese Roder, good to see you, James, and thank you very much. That's very generous of you. Thank you. Serious question, though, Brendan and panel. Do we count Paul McGann as a classic or a modern Doctor?
The Bridge.
He's classic.
He's classic.
Absolutely classic.
I always felt he's a bridge. He's got the classic elements to him, but I did think that he was almost a bridge onto the new era as well, where they were, when you get to Eccleston, I do think that is not so far removed from McGann, and McGann being kind of that New Who, classic Who, buffer zone, in my opinion. But I don't care because I love McGann. He's brilliant.
Yeah.
And don't forget, he has an entire history on Big Finish as well. So
Yes.
you know, for those who want to explore that particular character, the way they've written him, he's most definitely a classic style Doctor.
I
in
mean,
my opinion.
I would say, guys, is what Dwayne was just saying there. I mean, for me, I was so excited when I first got my first copy of Storm Warning through with McGann on Big Finish, and it's just, I must have played that on a loop on my CD player for a couple of weeks at least, because I just enjoyed it so much. He just embodied the role from the word go, the TV movie, and into Big Finish. But they did such good work with him in Big Finish.
And I think what's interesting, it's a good, interesting question, James, because as I was thinking, as the others went first, I thought actually he is the absolute halfway house, because he's a very classic Doctor, but he seems to be a classic Doctor in a New Who adventure. And there's a bit of that going on. The format, you know, it assumed too much, as per blooming usual with New Who. Too rushed at the end. There's a few contrivances to do with romance and kissy and all that jazz. But he was a classic Doctor. It was clear how he was set up, the hair, the costume, and all that stuff. And his regeneration was superb. Great analogies.
Yeah, well, he's got perfect continuity with Sylvester McCoy into him, so he's classic.
Yeah,
You don't have that connection to New.
yeah.
They still did my Seventh Doctor dirty in that film. I've never forgotten that. Burning with bullets. How dare they?
Yeah, it was such a crap way to die. He deserved better.
Yeah.
Wasn't the
It was-
bullets that killed him though? Ultimately,
No, it wasn't. It was
it was that probe.
Yeah.
Yes, it was
bloody
that Doctor.
Grace leaving that shit inside him.
Shocking. That's the hospitals in America are shocking. Boomer Doug, I know it's laughable now, but we loved the Zarbi in the schoolyard. You shouldn't be calling your head teacher that. The War Machines is a favourite and Time Meddler. I mean, yes, I've watched them. I can imagine they wanted the Zarbi to be a big deal, didn't it? That was the plan, wasn't it? That they were the new Daleks in a way. They tried the mechanoids and they wanted to have another beast that would kind of grab the imagination. So it's interesting that Boomer Doug says that it grabbed his attention. But weren't you about 17 then, Boomer Doug? You shouldn't have been messing on with the Zarbi.
Well, the mechanoids came after the Zarbi,
Yes.
of course. But
Yeah.
can you imagine watching it on an old classic?
Go on.
No, I was just going to say, I can't believe someone thought the mechanoids were going to, take over from the Daleks. It's just
Imagine,
like,
who would have thought the Daleks are? Let's be honest, it's very hard to do now, isn't it? The first time you saw the Daleks on 3 wheels and a little man on a little thing inside and with a sink plunger, honestly, who in the TV production crew thought these are going to take on the world? I mean, so maybe the mechanoids aren't as stupid as you think. The only thing about the mechanoids is their blooming size is ridiculous.
yeah, and they got this like stupid claw pincer thing. Like,
And going back to
here's
Big
a
Finish,
question.
though, I did like the mechanoids when they came back in Big Finish and Davros got hold of them. That was a good audio. I did enjoy that one. I will say that.
Go on, Dwayne. Dwayne's in a sandwich here. He's coming. He's.
I was going to say that there's a big difference the way kids absorb these things in the 60s, 70s, and 80s to today. I think because whenever I was a kid of the 70s/80s, so if there was something that we liked on TV, we would go outside and play that thing. So I remember playing the A-Team a lot with a group of friends. So I was always Face. I think my brother was Hannibal or something, and we always used to do that. So I can imagine kids in the 60s in particular would have gone out and played just like we were, because kids were outside. We were outside every day after school. We didn't come home till it got dark, and in Australia it gets dark very late in the summertime. So that's how things were then. I don't think kids do that today. They don't go out in the street and play based on something they've seen on television, do they?
No, not from my experience, from what I've seen with my nieces growing up, and other kids in the neighborhood. They're you know, I think the most they do now, I see them as just they're playing football. That's it pretty much. And it's a shame because, like you say, I did the whole 18 thing, you know, and you know, it was great. So yeah, maybe me and you will have to reenact it one day, Dwayne. You know, our ages
Oh,
now.
that'd be cool.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty sad, but I'm seeing it with nieces and nephews and stuff. They're all just sitting online since COVID, talking to other kids and playing, chatting. It's like there's no actual face-to-face time. It's pretty sad.
Well, Sonny Waffle says, away, man. Now he's in Wisconsin. There's kids playing in the street. Away. I've added a Geordie away there, Sonny.
Yeah.
I've added a bit of a bit. Now you see, if I was shooty, I'd have said honey babes. Because I think the thing for me in looks that got me was when the doctor warns Belinda about racial segregation in the diner. And, you know, so he's very aware of the issues of the time, and then talks to a male, straight projectionist in 1952 and calls him babes. And I thought, what? Absolute nonsense.
I think, you know, with you bringing it up there, I think for me, my trouble with, you know, Jodie Whittaker onwards has always been, and it's the rule I go by, and I always have. Every person that's been cast as the Doctor, I always think to myself, can I put them in that story? Can I imagine them being in, say, Genesis of the Daleks with the Fourth Doctor and Davros having that conversation? And for the bulk of them, I can see them being there and doing that. But I just cannot, Jodie Whittaker and Shooty, I cannot see them. I cannot see them in those scenes. I just can't, because it just doesn't work for me.
No, and I tell you what, the one thing that I resented when we talk about this blurring of classic and New Who and all the rest of it, and on this page here, I've got a lot more people saying the importance of an unearthly child. When you see Mark Gattis's An Adventure in Time and Space and the new version that they put on iPlayer, and the shooty Doctor looks across to the William Hartnell-esque Doctor, I just can't cope with it. I was okay with the Matt Smith one, because the Matt Smith one was very respectful and tried to follow and emulate, a bit like when Peter Davison's Doctor in Castrovalva was doing lines from all the Doctors, and he was a blend really, and you could see a continuity, whereas the shooty Doctor is so different from anything that's gone before that I don't want the shooty Doctor stood in a TARDIS looking at the first Doctor. I'm thinking, nah, you've jumped the shark, so to speak. But An Earthly Child, everybody. I mean, I nearly watched it again last night before this, you know, because I just thought, especially part one, because I just thought, oh God, you know, what a wonderful story, what a wonderful launch. And the third point down here is the first episode of An Unearthly Child story is phenomenal. You never realize those 25 minutes go by, even though all it does is set up the characters in the TARDIS. So yeah, I must admit, it's great telly. I'd love to see, I don't know, a film version of that somehow. But anyway, so yes, William Hartnell. I remember I did have a time, Dwayne, when I was listening to all the, you know, they had all the audio soundtracks, and that's all you could get of Marco Polo and all those. I remember listening to them obsessively, and the Dalek Master Plan, and because they're in legend almost, the Crusades, and but great actors in them, great adventure romps. I mean, Marco Polo. I mean, whatever about it being missing and all the rest of it, but we've got the audio and we've got the book, and I've some of these are brilliant books, aren't they? Absolutely great to read about.
I think Marco Polo I adore, guys, and you know, where we were saying earlier about the fact that, you know, there's always been a misconception that he's the grumpy Doctor, the first Doctor. He's not. He's got those mischievous and cheeky moments in it, and one of them that's absolutely fantastic, and I wish we had the footage now, is Marco Polo just with the Doctor and Kublai Khan at the end. It is absolutely wonderful. It is great, isn't it? It's just it's comedy. It's brilliant how they're talking about aging, and you know, with dignity, my boy, or whatever he says, and he's got a bad back and they hobble off together. It's wonderful stuff. And if you haven't listened to Marco Polo, I highly recommend that you do so, because it is great. It's a shame it's lost.
And for every story, when I slag off 73 yards and says it started well and then it lost its way, the Sensorites, which this channel's named after, is a case in point. I found the first episodes of the Sensorites was really good suspense, and a great image. That image of the Sensorite, climbing up and all that, and the Sensorites are coming, and the man who sat down there seemed to be possessed, didn't he? And it was quite troubling to see. And the doctor flicking switches like hell, and I don't know, he's in charge, Barbara, and and then the keys.
Well, it wasn't actually him. It wasn't actually him that was possessed. It was the guy that was in the room out the back.
Sorry, yes.
With the crazy, he had the crazy white hair, and he had this real scary look in his face. That was quite scary, quite moody, that story.
And you're right, and that was a very good, story about the emotional attack. And I think for me, one thing, and obviously from going back and I've been reviewing them, is with Sensorites. What I really like about it, and it really frustrates me that they didn't develop this with Susan, is you actually have that moment where Susan and the doctor have an argument, and she's kind of standing up to the doctor, and the doctor has a go at the Sensorites and says, you've managed to cause an argument with me and my granddaughter, which has never happened before. And for me, they never developed that with Susan, and I really wish they had. And Carol Ann Ford is a wonderful actor. Don't get me wrong, but what I wanted in that season for that is effectively you have another story where Susan is getting effectively more and more big-headed, that she thinks she's rivaling the doctor at some points by her knowledge. Then you have that bit where she gets herself into trouble, and the doctor has to get her out of it. And then you have that resolution where he realizes that she's not a child anymore, and respect her for who she is, but she realizes she's got a long way to go as well. I kind of felt they were going to go that route, and they were going to build up her telepathic powers, but it never really happened.
Well, what did you learn? I mean, you've interviewed Carol Ann Ford, Dwayne, for Sirens of Audio. I mean, and please go and listen to that podcast. But you obviously covered an awful lot of ground. Are there any little tidbits from this era that you could just kind of tease us with?
Well, only that, like many of the female companions in the classic series, they went in with great intentions and great ideas, but they kind of quickly went into this groove that was not very interesting at all. So I think Carol Ann expected to go in doing a lot more interesting things. Certainly started off that way. In An Unearthly Child in particular, there was some really interesting, and the Sensorites, as John said too, that telepathic element too, which was kind of dropped down the track. That could have been exploited better, and I think Carol Ann was frustrated by that, as some of the other actors were frustrated by their sort of position as just screamers, basically.
And you can understand why as well, Dwayne. Quickly, sorry, mate, because Reign of Terror, literally, she goes straight into that, and then literally she's just reverted back to the screaming companion again, isn't she?
Yeah, that's it. You did have an image from The Savages, which has recently been released on Blu-ray as an animation, and the rediscovery of that I would have heard it before, but the first Doctor's device that was brought up in there, the reacting vibrator, one of the most surprising devices I've ever come across. I had to do it. I did a double take and rewound it. And I actually put subtitles on. Went, what is that?
Very
a reacting vibrator. Only the first Doctor could say that and get away with it.
I think Christine's still got that.
Yeah, he's coming back.
He's dug it out.
That's why Nissa was in her bedroom a lot. No, sorry. So we had where was I going? Can I just ask another cheeky question? Because you know I'm like that, but it's on a lot of people's thought processes at the moment. We talk about classic Who, we talk about new Who. This is obviously us talking about First Doctor, Susan, the original companions, and all the rest of it. But there is talk anyway that season 2, Susan might come back. What is your inkling? I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. What's your inkling? Do you think they would do that? Because obviously, although it could be nice, and we had Ian Chesterton popped back, didn't we, in Power of the Doctor? Do you think RTD would really go there? What would you think, Dan?
Oh, anything's possible. I just, yeah. I mean, it feels like it should have happened a long time ago, in my view. If they were going to do it, it should have come back. It should have been around the 50th, I think. That and Ian would have been good if they'd done it back when William Russell was a lot younger, around the 50th. Yeah, I just it worries me that they actually are going to do something like that, but I just don't see narratively what are they going to do, bringing her back? I mean, what, to regenerate her? I mean,
Well-
it's not like they're going to have Susan travel with the Doctor again.
Well, what they got right to a degree in School Reunion when Sarah met the Doctor again, apart from the fight with Rose, which gone a bit silly, there was some interesting chat then, and I did enjoy that. If it's written correctly, Susan's got a lot to say. Let's be honest. Susan's got a lot to say. I live for hundreds of years. I'm a time lady, we assume, and you dumped me on Earth. Cheers, mate. And you didn't ask for my consent. Coercive control. Back to Robot Revolution. Whoa, kick off. You could have an amazing discussion, but you'd want it with the William Hartnell or Capaldi type Doctor. You don't want it with Shooty because he'd cry.
Yeah, I think also, Brendan, you know, I'm at a point now where I don't want any classic companions or characters returning under RTD, because I think he's a guy now that is just literally lobbing stuff at a wall and hoping something sticks just to have that wow moment. And I don't think he would respect the character. For me, Big Finish did it better when they had the 8th Doctor run, and what was it, Susan's War. I loved all of that element to it, and I thought it was great. But if you were going to bring it back, for me, it should never be done as a 1 or 2 episodes. It would need to be a season if you can do that, because what you were just touching upon there is, look, you have a season where effectively Susan is then calling out the Doctor on stuff that he's doing, and he's effectively saying, well, you know, this isn't you wouldn't have done that before, or, you know, you wouldn't have done this, you know, you've got to toe that line. You could have an interesting season of those two going at each other, but also don't forget, you're talking about Susan now, who, you know, David's probably dead now and is long gone, so she's also got that loss of, she's lost a husband, and, you know, I know, you know, in the 5 Doctors it mentions she's got 3 kids as well in the Target book. So you've got all of this stuff that, you know, is there, that you couldn't do it in just 1 or 2 episodes. You'd need to really flesh it out, in my opinion, over a longer period. And I agree with what Dan said. It should have been the 50th for me. You know, that was the time to do it. But
the one thing I can see a few people in the thread are saying there's no reason to bring her back. As you've just explained, it would need a season or something. However, what about this as a question? Susan, representing the First Doctor's era, is brought back, a bit like Derek Jacobi appeared at the end of Utopia to therefore change. And then the great idea of RTD might have been that then can steer into another spin-off. Remember, he has all these ideas, hasn't he? He's assuming an awful lot that the main show would be successful, and he's gone too far on the spin-offs and other things. But it is possible if you brought Susan back, but obviously Caroline Ford is an older lady now. So basically, bring her back, show her due respect, hopefully, regenerate her. Then you've got a spin off, and it'll tick all the DEI boxes because then the BBC can go, we've got a female lead Time Lord. As we've always wanted, but we couldn't do it with the main show because everybody kicked off. So now we've got our kind of Geordie bot in spin-off. Do you think that's a possibility? I mean, it'll never happen now if the main show tanks.
Yeah, it's a stretch. I think, yeah, and look, reality is Caroline Ford's not going to be acting in anything other than a cameo, really. At her age, it just doesn't make it. It's not like she's going to become a series regular and keep the character going on any level in the actual TV show. It doesn't seem like it would be satisfying. Anything that we come up with, I think, is going to be less than what our own imaginations have come up with over the years as to what happened to Susan.
It's given me that whole. Sorry, it's given me that horrible vibe of in the 70s when we had the $6 million man, and then they had the Bionic Woman, and then they had some adventures when you had the Bionic Woman with the $6 million man, and it was all. I liked them separate. I just didn't like it when they started think, let's get everybody together. And I don't know. I don't know. I have these fears because RTD was alive at the same time, saw the same things, likes to copy things.
In my head canon, Susan and the first Doctor reconciled after 5 Doctors. He dropped it back at Gallifrey on the way through.
Well, that's just set up for the new series from RTD. She's now traveling the universe trying to get back to Earth to find her husband because the Doctor didn't take the husband with her. So he's on Gallifrey, David's on Earth. She's trying to get back.
Dead, Dave. He's dead.
Now, can I just make it clear to EOH editorial? You appeared for our Backing Up Sean review it yourself on Tuesday's Children of Time, and I had to split them in the classroom at the back of the thread, one in the back left, one in the back right. Split them. They were trouble, those two. And he's now saying, Susan spin-off, Brendan, have you been drinking the Cook and Sherry? I don't want it to happen. I'm just saying, I'm trying to get into RTD's head. And as people in the thread have already said, is there a reacting vibrator in there? Because they're getting worried now. Honestly, I think the thing that's going to worry everybody after today's stream, Dwayne, is you mentioning this reacting vibrator and whether RTD is going to bring it back.
As far as the Susan theories go, if he is comfortable in taking a beloved classic series character and flushing it down the proverbial toilet like he did last season, you have no hesitation in doing it again with any other character he wants to do that to. Absolutely. And so I would be very pessimistic about what he would actually do with Susan as a character. So I hope for the sake of people who are looking at the series as a whole, that he wouldn't do that, because he would destroy her, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
So if you were given a choice tonight of watching one of the first Doctor stories again, what would it be? Because I looked at so many different surveys and I was flicking through them then so people can see them. There is no consensus. There was some people saying the 10th Planet is the top William Hartnell one. And I thought, well, isn't he tired
He's
in that?
asleep for half of it.
Yeah. Some have said the Celestial Toymaker. Now we've had it back and we've heard it on soundtrack and we've seen the animation. It's a very studio bound, and he was on holiday for one of the episodes.
3 of the episodes.
Yeah, and they were trying to regenerate him. Really, that was the plan, wasn't it? So
yeah.
So what is I'll go down the thread on the panel here. Dan, what would you watch as a pleasing memorial to William Hartnell's first Doctor? Which one is the one that would give you pleasure?
In terms of, to me, the first 25-minute episode of Unearthly Child is, to me, so special for William Hartnell because it was the very first William Hartnell episode I saw and for me, it was because ABC put it on for the 30th anniversary. So I hadn't seen any Hartnell up until that was my very first, and it was televised. Yeah. They replayed it for the 30th anniversary at in the afternoon, and so, but when I just love the fact that when you watch that episode, straight out of the gate, everything that the Doctor is later is encapsulated in that first 25 minutes.
Mm.
You know, he comes out of the gate and he lands this character, and I get elements of that watching Eccleston in his first episode with Rose as well, where he comes out of the gate and basically, is very mysterious but yet you get a sense of this power and all knowing, something is, he's otherworldly, but yet, very confident. So, and it's something that the doctors either land or they don't.
I'm torn, Dwayne, between if I was going to do this, rewatching Dalek Invasion of Earth or the Keys of Marinus.
I think out of those two, if you gave that choice to me, I would watch Keys of Marinus every time, because I like that kind of quest style. I love the Key to Time as well, so I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. I like the quest style locations. It's one of the weirdest planets the Doctor Who has ever gone to, with all those different things in all those different places, all on the one planet. It's crazy. And as far as the character of the first Doctor, he's got a brilliant last two episodes. You got a courtroom drama there, and he looks fantastic in those court scenes. So to get a good taste of the Doctor, Keys of Marinus for sure. And I was trying to think of stories. Like, it's so hard to pick one, but I'm trying to think, well, if you want to get a good taste of the Doctor, what story would you get? Would you watch? Because my favorite, as I said, is often comes up, the Time Meddler as a favorite, but he's gone for one of the episodes there too.
Yeah.
So he's only in 3 of the 4 of those. So where would you go? And I keep going back to things like the historicals, like the Romans. You get a good sense of the interplay between him and Vicky in that one. I even love the Gunfighters. If you watch the Gunfighters and watch the character of the Doctor in that, not the story. If you're not so fussed on the story, that's fine. But the character of the Doctor, he is so good in that. It's incredible. So Gunfighters, and I love the Mythmakers too for the pure comedy of the whole thing. It's just brilliant. The script of the Mythmakers is one of the best. If there was episodes to come back, I would probably want the Mythmakers before even, well, I can't say before Dalek's Master Plan. Of course, we all want that one, but I would love to see the Mythmakers for sure.
So I'm paralyzed. Me and Jamie are stuck in the middle. I mean, we've now left it months when we're in the web planet, and we've stopped again. You just anyway. So, John, on your channel, you started with Unearthly Child. You were working your way through. So I'm intrigued what you are going to pick. If it was pretend today, you're going to watch a First Doctor one.
Well, for me, it's Dalek Invasion of Earth. But before I say that, I will come back on what Dwayne was just saying about Keys of Marinus, because it's a fantastic story. I really do enjoy it. And I'm amazed that at some point they never ever did a sequel to it, because at the end of that story, you have this big dilemma about, discussion and debate about, do you want to dismantle the machine and take the control from people? And they talk about, there would be anarchy, but the Doctor decides, you've got to have, effectively, everyone's got to have freedom. But you could have a great story, 200 years later, and the whole planet's descended into chaos because of the decision that had been made at that point. It's a really well written story. Dalek Invasion of Earth for me is the one I always go to, since I was a nipper and I got to watch it for the first time. I think what I like about it, and especially from watching Doctor Who in chronological order as I have been on my channel, is for me, Dalek Invasion of Earth is the first time really where the Doctor actually says he wants to get involved and he wants to pit himself against the Daleks. You know, when they first captured by the Robo-Men and the Dalek, we must pit our wits against them and defeat them. You know, a lot of the stories in season 1, and this is why I recommend people watch it in chronological order. You see the development of the Doctor because, you know, the Sensorites as an example at the beginning, he actually says to the companions, "Oh, let's go back in the TARDIS. Let's go." You know, when they find the crew are completely passed out. But he, you know, as you go forward, the Doctor from Dalek Invasion of Earth, in my opinion, he is more right. We need to be involved in this. We need to defeat them. You know, whereas before there were elements of him that he would have cleared off. You know, I think a backup to that, I would say for me, because Marco Polo isn't available to see, only here on audio, I would have to say it's got to be Aztecs for me. I adore the Aztecs. I really do.
Yeah.
You've got a wonderful moment with Hartnell in the Aztecs where, you know, he literally calls Susan out and talks about you cannot change time. It's fantastic stuff, you know, and you know, he doesn't mess about. He's basically telling her, look, believe me, I know, which implies at some point in his past he's tried to change things and it's had consequences for him. You know, it's a very, very good story. But I think it's just Dalek Invasion of Earth. 1, because I love Daleks. 2, because I love there's some great Hartnell moments in that. The other characters are great in it. You know, I really think Barbara's great in that story as well. And then I think just that touching scene at the end with the Doctor and Susan, really.
And I think this is
Can you do a slither sound? Can you do the sound of the slither?
I try. It's like
a
strangled cat, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
This is what's fascinating, isn't it? Because your experience of Doctor Who, depending on what age you are. I mean, I like the Dalek Invasion of Earth because it was so full of surprises, even though I was brought up on the Peter Cushing movie first. If you get my gist.
Yeah.
And to then to see the original, there's so much more there. Because of course, what you're seeing in the Peter Cushing movie, and I love the movie, is the kind of New Who kind of one episode thing where you know you have to get on with it. Whereas that 6 episoder, it has a lot of development, some great characters, as you said, a shock ending. And a shock ending with a Churchill speech. You know, I mean, the Doctor doesn't do a David Tennant cry or a Ncuti Gatwa cry. He's quite formidable, but there's touches of softness there, and very, very patrician. It's lovely actually, and it's on Geneva.
Can I also add in a comedy element from season 2 of Planet of Giants? Okay. The Doctor takes great delight when he literally almost burns a guy's face off when the canister explodes. You know, they set it up so it's gonna explode into the guy's face as it does. And he runs back to the companions and he's like, "Oh, it works! Come on, off we go back to the TARDIS." You know, he's absolutely in absolute joy that he's actually, you know, committed arson and attempted to kill somebody or blind them.
Well,
you know?
in the thread,
like the robot revolution, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, in the thread, there is no agreement. What do you expect from Doctor Who fans? Reese Roder, Aztecs is great. A good focus on Barbara. I mean, I do like the Aztecs. I mean, I mentioned the Keys of Maris and Dalek Invasion of Earth. Now I've let the lads do their explanation of it, but I just concur with what they've said about it. Gareth Morgan, Dalek Invasion of Earth, things changed because Ian demonstrated that there was an aspect of mankind that needed to be nurtured. We've got an earthly child. He's mentioned quite a lot. Fair dues. Boomer Doug has Hartnell has fun in the gunfighters. The Edge of Destruction is a departure in style and very watchable. So as usual, no consensus. So what do we do when Doctor Who fans don't have consensus? We move on. And this should be a fun one because my God, you can defend the indefensible when you're a Doctor Who fan, and you can actually criticize something that's really good sometimes. I brought this up because we did robots last week after the Robot Revolution. This week, Lux had done great animation. I can't knock the animation, and I did like what they did. I just wished that the story writer, RTD, had integrated it better into the plot and made it worthwhile. But I liked the animation. I really did. So great special effect there last week on Doctor Who. So it's an easy hit for you here, Dwayne. Your favorite aspects of special effects in old Who, in classic Who, and your worst. I mean, let's have a laugh.
It's a tricky one because some of the best stories have the worst special effects, and they don't ever seem to detract from the story for me. So one example that you had there on the screen before was Invasion of the Dinosaurs. It's always in my top 5 Third Doctor stories, but I have no issue whatsoever. And with, well, maybe a slight issue, but not too much of an issue. And what I love about the effects in Invasion of the Dinosaurs is the sound effects that go with them. The roar is something I always remember from my childhood. The roar of those dinosaurs was fantastic, I thought. But then you've got other great stories too, like The Talons of Wang Chiang, which is I always consider that my favorite all-time story, which has got the rat, which has been really well realized on the Blu-ray in the new special effects. You've got. I'm curious to see whether they do anything to the magma creature in the Caves of Androzani, or is it the magma beast? Because that's the one thing that detracts from that whole story, is that creature. Like the whole thing is a hands down classic, and then you've got the magma beast in the middle of it. So see if they fix that up with the
Dwayne,
with the Blu-ray.
I think, as you know from last week, I think the Queen Bat needs an upgrade. And she's got that. What's that device you mentioned from the first Doctor? What's the...
Oh,
yes. So
don't give him ideas of giving us an RTD director's cut of that story, Brendan. Just don't do it.
The
Queen Bat Milker.
Oh God, that needs an upgrade because that was very cardboard. That was
limited series on Disney Plus coming in August.
Yes. Oh, dear, you've given me ideas now. So, Dan, you can see here, and I was looking this up, what people say. I mean, we're going to look at the title sequence just to finish off in a moment, but the first regeneration, their list, the Drashigs, Meglos, the Cyberman bulkhead interface in Earthshock, obviously the Time Lord space station in 86, the Rani's bubble traps. There's a few other people have mentioned. What about yourself?
The bubble traps are worthy of a mention. These are, so we're talking good.
really good.
I still think that I still look at that. I saw that recently and goes, geez, they did a good job realizing that. And I think the answer is the practical effects that came into it. But I agree with Dwayne though. If the story is good, you just suspend disbelief enough to get through it. In terms of, I personally like the dinosaurs for their limitations, but
selling chewits. I know. The
the worst effects for me though is the actual tinsel in the time lash.
Yeah. I mean, for example,
they've done a good job on the Blu-ray.
Planet of Fire, I wasn't too sure about. That where every time the Master changed to Chameleon and all the rest of it, and that kind of effect, you think, oh God, for the time it was so tired. Dead Man, bad special effects are good. I was delighted the End of the World looked so cheesy despite computers. And actually, I'm asking this about Classic Who because it's more fun. But yeah, the thread are kind of picking on things. For example, Brendan, what about the CGI in that first season of Eccleston? And yes, it doesn't. The Slovene are terrible, really, and in Rose, the Ernestine blob is terrible. And yes, too much CGI, I think, ruins everything, really. But I love this. I mean, it's one of the only things from Time and the Rani I like, which I thought this was a brilliant effect. And you saw skeletons, you saw proper death. Great stuff.
Well, maybe when we get the collection box sets for New Who, they can redo all the special effects and
Yeah.
Here
do
we
cut down versions of them. And
But
Here we've got, just before you come in, AOH editorial, best or worst. Frontier in space with the wires seen suspending the Doctor as he attempts to mend the spacecraft. I love that story. As a kid, it was thrilling to see the jeopardy and commitment by acting from Pertwee. Thanks for that one. I know there's so many to mention. What about you, John?
bad effects. I'm gonna have to go with the Merca from Warriors of the Deep. I think that one, that pantomime or horse
what
lurking.
about the bloody Kinder snake?
Yeah. That's in the
The
same.
Merca,
ballpark.
the Merca wasn't as bad as the door that came down and sort of folded up.
Yeah,
That was
Yeah.
worse than the Merca.
But John, just while you're doing that, you've just reminded me in Warriors of the Deep, when Ingrid Pitt did that kick, Shooty was doing a eulogy to her.
He was. Yeah, that was proper Bruce Lee level stuff, wasn't it? When you first saw that, absolutely genius. And I still maintain you're going to see the war between the land and the sea. You're going to see a CGI Merca at some point, because I think RTD, he's been given the budget, he's blown the budget, but I think he's going to go, do you know what? I actually want a good Merca for a change. So he'll probably slip one in, I reckon.
Yeah, we all need a good Merca. That sounds dodgy. I'd like the creature from the pit to come back. I think I'm not going to say that device that the first Doctor had again.
Wow, in the current
always fix this one. He loves it. He loves a Ratu.
Now, as crimpling doubloon saints here, my favourite special effect is the tree in the Android Invasion, a real tree that's pretending to be an artificial tree. But you're making me think of Mark of the Rani. That was a bad special effect. Remember when the tree, that pantomime tree, hugged Perry to save her from the Rani's landmines? And I thought, oh no.
What about the manufacturing quality of the androids themselves, with Sarah's face just falling off from being shook too hard?
Or going back to Time Lash that you were talking about a few minutes ago, when Brendan, you said about Time and Raleigh, that effect, and you see the skeletons, there's proper death is great. In Time Lash at the end, when he disintegrates, the leader, and you see the skeleton, but it's literally somebody's just held it and dropped it because its legs fold as it hits the ground.
Yeah. I mean, the City of Death effect was good when you think of the skeletons. I liked that effect with the professor when he, changed.
What about when they're landing, when the Doctor's trying to land Space Station Nova above Voga, and it's just clearly a spinning.
Yeah.
Wheel just going.
I will say I watched and this kind of goes to Dwayne's point a few minutes ago, but I watched Death to the Daleks again last night, which I adore and always have, and I love the effect of the city. Yeah. And I think and that practical costume is great, but I know now that they would have done a heat torch or something to melt it, but the end when the city's melting and then you get the screams as it's melting as well is really well done. When I got the first VHS, because this was the first VHS that my parents bought me, and I love this, but of course with VHS you didn't see that it was an effect put in the back as much as you do now with the DVDs and Blu-rays, but and I still think it's incredible what they did with this, and it's such a good story, and the sets, it's great. Yeah. It really is.
I mean, when you talk about those early VHSs, did you all go through the same thing? Because we say this, but can you remember? So say, John, you got Death to the Daleks, and my first one was The Revenge of the Cybermen. I paid about 39 quid for it, and I was doing a hotel job for £1 an hour, and 39 quid or whatever it was just like, God, I was bankrupt. But remember when you got it and you were dying to see old Doctor Who, and you had it there in your hands, and then you were worried that this old dodgy VHS machine might chew it up. But or the other thing is, after time, if you watch it to death, you're going to start kind of making it get lines and everything. We've all been to a video shop, and you think once you got it in your hands, and it was like you can watch Doctor Who anytime you want. Suddenly, I refused to because I didn't want to damage it. Did you
Yeah.
all go through that process?
Well, funny you mention that because it actually happened to me. A friend of mine lent me. You remember the double pack VHS of Genesis of the Daleks and the Sontaran experiment with that great
Yeah.
artwork? He lent me. He got it on day of release. His parents bought it for him, and he lent it to me. And as I was watching it, it chewed up his tape of
Whoa.
Genesis, and I got it
Whoa.
out, and it was all screwed up, and I was like, "Oh no!" And
you
this is how great parents are, right? My mum had actually bought it for me at Woolworths for Christmas, and she basically took it back to Woolworths, the damaged version with the receipt, and said, "This is a damaged copy. Can I have another one?" So they gave her another copy of Genesis of the Daleks and Sontaran experiment. So I got away with that, my
Whoa.
VHS player
Yeah.
damaging a friend's VHS set. So there you go. Thank you, Mum. She holds that over me to this
Well,
day.
yeah, because you would have been crying like Shooty otherwise. I would have.
Yeah.
I was, yeah. Definitely, I emoted on a very high level at that point.
I would have. Because a double set as well.
Yeah.
Crimpling to Bloom, a favourite special effect is of the Time Lords in The Deadly Assassin, the way they moved the extras from one section of the set to another and merging the pictures to make the panopticon appear crowded. I thought you were going to say crimpling, those little shrunken little dolls that you kept finding in The Deadly Assassin, because that scared me. But it's that bit in the gantry when they went up there to find that the little cameraman was now a little action man. And I was like, whoa, God, that was scary as. All you need is shadows, isn't it?
You mean Runcible?
Well, yeah, later
Oh
on.
no, he got the
He got
axe
that-
in the back.
He got the axe. But I know they've upgraded this, but I loved those little Daleks in Planet of the Daleks. I thought that was fab, especially when you got all the ice Kano took off. It blew up, and they all got kind of swamped in kind of shampoo.
Milk.
I was like, I like that effect.
But this again just speaks back to what has been said. Us Doctor Who fans, we don't care about effects at all if the story and the acting is top notch. You can bypass that. That new CGI version is brilliant, but yeah, that original, it didn't bother me at all every time I watched it because I love the story. And I think now where you've got the current iteration, it would stand out a lot more because the stories aren't as good as what has been before. So that's my view on it.
Well, just while I bring the lads in, I just want to remind EOH editorial that's coming next. Okay, so what you're saying there. So Dwayne, has it got you thinking about other moments? Because you know what it's like when you get talking about Doctor Who. There's so much there that once you've mentioned one memory, it sparks another. Good or bad? What other thoughts have you got about effects in Doctor Who?
Well, the whole Pertwee era had Barry Letts experimenting with CGI, not CGI, blue screen.
CSO.
So CSO, that's what it was called in the UK, wasn't it? Which was very evident in a lot of it, but once again, never really bothered me at all. And I still say Underworld and their usage of CSO in that story is amazing. I love it.
I like Underworld. It's it gets a lot of hate, but I always enjoy Underworld, and I like the whole Time Lord mythology and all of that they add into it as well. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I nearly put in when Farsight here says the best special effects are in remembrance of the Daleks. I know there's various bits in that. I even was nearly going to do the photograph of the Dalek going up the stairs because it was a key moment. We're all looking for legs. We're all looking for stuff like that, and it was basically as we judge our New Who now, and I asked them on the Sunday show, I always say, judge the production resources and the use of them, not that they've spent 100 million, just whether it effectively uses that. And of course, that was an effective use of just a bit of pretend flame and all the rest of it. A lot of people will mention this great effect, though. I mean, we were stunned. I wasn't in a cinema. Some lucky devils saw it premiered in a cinema. The size of that model And when I was talking to the lads in Belfast who have done season 25, for example, and they did the first season of Blake 7, and they were talking about what they still do the same thing. They'd have that fixed, and then the cameras have to turn around it. And that effect, the first time we saw that, when you saw, it really felt Star Wars-ish, didn't it? When you went round the space station. And the only effect I didn't like is when you saw the TARDIS photograph pull down in the tractor beam, and then we landed in this very cheap BBC set with steps. And I thought, oh, you'd built it up so much. But I wish, oh God, they used it a couple more times, didn't they, in Trial of a Time Lord to kind of milk it.
It's, I mean, that's superb. Funnily enough, last night I was watching Sharda as well, so I had a bit of a marathon. But you know, the animated version they did, and they did the new model shots in it as well. I was watching the behind the scenes of them doing it, and the model work on that is incredible. You know, where they got the TARDIS flying by, it's really great. You know, so call me old fashioned, but I do love a good model. I do love a practical model. You know,
you just look at that you can't go wrong with it, because there's so much detail on that. And yeah, just do the angles and I
don't know if PB Props is in the chat, but I think he's doing a restoration or a yeah, I think he was working on this in some way coming up. He was talking about having it on the channel at some point.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, here, SideQuest Nerd says, I was lucky to see the space station and play with all its lights at Lonleat before it got burned in a fire. So, restoration of some burned plastic.
I think he might have even been that he's got the molds.
Yeah.
And he collected all the bits. So I think he was actually going to try and build a replica of it.
Well, that'd be good.
Oh God, yeah. It's got people's memories going, as it would. Squinty Mint, I remember being disappointed when I took a flash photo of Bilal at the exhibition and it came out all white, which was the intended effect that didn't materialize in the episode. This is it, because you never got the photographs developed at the time, did you? And so it was only later on you got, right, that's a rubbish photograph. Yeah.
Can I just also say as well, talking about Death to the Daleks, I do love the effect of the root as well, you know, which is the big vacuum cleaner. And again, you know, people will say, you know, when it kills you know, kills the Dalek, it's superb. And I know, like, also in the quarry where it comes down and you like you said, the Dalek at the top as well. You see the strings, yes, and you also see the string connected to the Dalek to pull it across. But I just bypassed that because it's really well done, and I love how they use it at the end. It kind of lies down like a snake or an anaconda in the water, doesn't it, and goes along the surface. Really well done.
Well, we've got here, let's have a look. Julianne never catches us live, and she said she's got a question. So here we go. Does anyone know why the inside of the TARDIS looks like the inside of a Dalek? There you go. So, Julianne, good to see you. And you've caught us live, and we've live answered you. We're about to. I don't know. It just looks like a white warehouse to me.
Roundels.
Those roundels get on my wick. It is too nightclub. You know, in looks, they're ran to get changed, and then I thought you could make it so moody, like in Enlightenment. You know, when you had that orange TARDIS interior. But no, we're going to have it flashing as if we're in some sort of discotheque of the old day.
I never liked that new TARDIS interior. It's too big for me. I think the best one to date has been the Matt Smith Capaldi interior. I think that TARDIS interior is still the best one by far.
John, EOH editorial has listed the worst special effect as the cat in Survival, and you were only telling me about that yesterday.
Yeah. I told Brendan yesterday about you guys that I invited friends round it like late 90s, and I said, we'll put Survival on, and they took the mick out of me watching the Cheetah People in Survival. But you know, I made it up with them eventually, you know, and calmed down. But you know, that's still a great story. I love Survival, you know.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think is the guy who wasn't in the chat. I think he was talking about the fake pussycat. The actual
on the
black
wall,
cat.
Oh no, exactly. It was on that wall, and I thought, my God, it's like watching Pipkins. This
Didn't they actually have to get they were going for the real cat, weren't they? But they couldn't get it to sit down and do what they wanted it to do, so they had to do it. They had to build.
They shouldn't have got rid of Colin Baker. He likes cats. He could have got got a cat on the wall and everything. EOH editorial: the shot of the space station in Trial of a Time Lord is simply incredible. It cost £8,000 to make, and I'd say that it shows. Oh yes, it shows. J&T had to sell some of his Hawaiian shirts to pay for it. No, it did look great, and people are saying it was used in an American promo as well. It was so good. Duncan there, Evans, that model from Trial was so amazing. It was even used in the USA for the promo of the '96 TV movie. So yes, it's something that's been lost in the slickness of the production values of the new Who. You miss those little moments. You really do. Now, just to finish off, as I was saying to EOH editorial, it was listed as one of the best special effects in Doctor Who, which is the 60s and the 70s title sequence, which leads me to conclude for today and asking Dwayne, what is your favorite titles sequence?
Oh, that's so tough. But I think the most outstanding one is probably one of the least used, and that would be season 11. I would have to say that was amazing when I saw that for the first time.
Is that the one where it was all orange blobs and we traveled through?
Isn't it?
No, that's Pertwee's final season.
Pertwee's final season, right? I'm blurring this. This is thanks to you know who.
Where he looks like a mummy.
Yes, that's it. It's sort of like light beams to start with, doesn't it? And then it creates the vortex. Yeah.
Yeah. But around the body, which we never got that again. It was always the TARDIS for Tom Baker, but it was Pertwee's. Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this tunnel sequence is phenomenal. We were just saying this the other day when we were watching Pyramids of Mars, which we will finish tonight. When I see this and all the money Doctor Who has now, yes, you have lots of texture, clouds, gaseous, nebula, and all the rest of it. But I feel as though we're missing something. And RTD is a little bit of a one-trick pony. We've had this cloudy, speedy effect for too long. And I don't think it adds to the mystery and claustrophobia of Doctor Who, as you've just kind of mentioned with that tunnel sequence. I mean, as a kid, I was intrigued by the shapes. And I kept thinking I saw Sontaran. I kept thinking I saw, on the what. And I think you need to do something that's claustrophobic. And yes, the music helped. But when you're thinking about this, John, when you watch all of Doctor Who, what's your favourite opening sequence?
For me, I think because of the time I grew up, it's the Fifth Doctor title sequence. I absolutely adore it. I love the the effects coming in. I love the theme from the 80s, from that era. I'm in a happy place when I hear that, and I'm into that. I know I'm into a story. The phone's going off. That's it. I'm in my zone. It's great.
And what about you, Dan?
I really like Tom Baker's. Yeah, it's Tom Baker for me.
Tom Baker. I want to give credit to this. I mean, it's very easy to say Chibnall bad, everything else good. This opening sequence seemed to be trying to emulate the original. And when I'm judging these title sequences, yes, there's the memory of being a child and which one is the one I loved. But equally, this one intrigued me with the effects they were trying to use, and they were trying to do, I thought, the cloud sequence from the 60s, but upgrade it in a way with the gadgets you've got now. because that was ahead of its time. I mean, everybody who's
Mhm.
around at the time was saying how that wowed you. How did they do that? I remember, when you discover years later, if you put the camera onto the monitor and I was actually in Australia when we played around with that, and they were making a Doctor Who movie in Perth, Western Australia, and they showed me that effect, and that if you have the writing, and oh wow, and it was just great to see. But that's in 1990. I don't know. I could see what they were doing with that one. Obviously, it's a blurring of Dwayne's. It's that final bit of Pertwee, and it's obviously the Tom Baker tunnel sequence. So, just before we wrap up, let's just see what they're saying in the thread there. Tomboy Cheek. The titles today lack the mystery and intrigue of the 60s and 70s. They don't hook you to pull you in. They're not even Flash Harry. They're not even that. I'd love to ask RTD, what are you trying to do with that opening sequence? Are you trying to make it mysterious, hyper? What are you trying to do?
I think I know the answer.
Go on.
Let's start the show.
Yeah. Farsight. The 7th Doctor titles are one of the first CGI intros in TV history. That actually the Paul McGann movie, I quite liked that opening sequence. I loved because you went back to the 70s writing, didn't you? The font style and the way it was Superman. I know when they turned the writing round and it zoomed off, but you had some flying debris, a bit better than the Sylvester McCoy flying debris. I loved all that.
It's the music for each of these that make a massive difference too, because. I mean the Peter Howe version of the theme, and and the change from Delia Derbyshire theme, massive, and McCoy. I mean, a lot of people are down on the McCoy themes and stuff, but for me, it's very iconic.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? I don't know if you've ever noticed. This is a very random question. We're talking about theme tunes. And the season 18 theme, there was one episode of Meglos, I think it was the end of episode 4, that the closing theme was in a different key to any other time the theme has been there, that somehow the key was dropped. Does anyone ever notice that?
No. You're going to make me go and watch. That's it now. I'm going to watch.
You watch the closing theme to episode 3 and then go to episode 4 and it's down. It's dropped a key or two. Only time I've ever seen it done.
Yeah.
Now know that you see that was a weak link for me. I don't really like Meglos, so I haven't watched it for a while. So of course now you've got me going. Oh right, I think he's doing this deliberately to make me watch a Doctor Who I don't really enjoy. And mind
just watch what he does with Time Lash next time.
Yeah.
You're watching the.
You've talked about the tinsel in Time Lash, but you never talked about the bandrel.
Yeah,
it was talking a lot like this.
Well, the Hoopettes, love it. The Hoopettes, it's a bit like the Master watching the Clanners. I mean, the Hoopettes.
I've done it now.
And the Android,
Now, EOH editorial tells us, because we're all Doctor Who fans here, you may all like the book Adventures in Type and Space from 10 Acre Film, as it covers all the title sequences. Thank you for that. Yeah. Some of us do like to go down these little niche alleyways. Tomboy Chic, the sequences today don't sell the time travel aspect. Not that there is much time travel anymore, it's just space. Because when we had the Chris Eccleston, we had that tunnel sequence, then we had the TARDIS turns, and I think it was explained that one's a time vortex and one's just, one was a fourth dimension.
Blue was the past, red was the future. Is that how they explained it?
Something like, it was a little bit too neat for my liking, but yes.
What?
Yeah, things you make up. No, I've heard them talk about it, but I just think, what a load of crap.
And anyway, who said RTD you're in charge? Anyway, making all this.
Just one title sequence that we haven't mentioned that I've only just been watching recently. On the Blu-ray, there's a special edition of Terror of the Vervoids where all the trial sequences are cut out, and they've redone the title sequence for that. It's fantastic. I love it. Check it out.
Oh no, you're really doing that to us again now. So I've got to go and watch Meglos and Terror of the Vervoids. You're having a laugh here.
He doesn't. He doesn't. Brendan doesn't like Terror of the Vervoids because the Vervoids look like female body parts.
And they've all got that first Doctors. That no. The thing is that the
Look
Terror
at
of
my
the
face coming back now for that verb.
Terrifying.
I thought the Terror of the Vervoids was okay as a concept.
But Creature from the Pit is better, of course.
The Creature from the Pit had claustrophobia. It had so much.
Oh, I
And-
imagine
and-
she'd
like,
be
like,
like,
The Willy Monster.
she'd be like, "Oh, babes, it's my birthday."
Oh yeah, if the shoot, don't do a sequel with the Creature from the Pit. The shooty doctor. I mean, he
See,
wouldn't do it.
I like Creature from the Pit because it's got Lady Adrasta with the whips running around.
Oh, heck, here we go. Do you know what? They slag me off at pretending I'm so bothered about Adric every week. You see, what's it going to be next week? Is it going to be another Paladin mention, or is it going to be Adric just to rile you all? Babette Bombshell, the music's mood no longer matches the boisterous circus of visual effects of the modern opening sequences. The music has foreboding, builds drama and tension. The visuals diffuse it in an orgy of color. That kind of explains RTD's writing style to me, that it's all over the blooming shop. And it's a missed opportunity. You've got Delia Derbyshire's arrangement. You've got Ron Grainer's theme tune. Come on, how can you get it wrong? Oh, they can. And as EOH editorial says here, I cannot say his name, and I don't mean that in a Sigona Akinola's theme was as experimental as Derbyshire's. I agree. 10 out of 10 for me, and a great mobile phone ring. There you go. There we go. So we've covered the angles there on Anzac Day for the Aussies. Thanks for giving me you there for your time, lads. Because it is your public holiday, isn't it, today? And so
Not anymore. It's Saturday now.
not anymore. Oh, sorry, did I move over timey-wimey?
We've crossed the time threshold.
Oh dear. So, well, thank you
We've
for your
crossed the
time.
void beyond the mind.
God. Well, talking about theme tunes and tunnel sequences, let's have our own. So, just as I finish, let me just pure historical, Dwayne. There, anything coming up on Sirens of Audio?
Well, we did release our episode. What was the last one we did? I've completely forgotten what it was now. It must have been memorable. Go to John. Let me have a quick look and come back to me.
Okay, then. Sometimes you can stream too much, can't you? So, John, on Sci-Fi Chronicles 79, what you're up to?
Yeah, so I've recently recorded The Rescue and the Romans, but releasing in the next few days, I've got Dalek Invasion of Earth. And for a movie review as well, in the next few days, Highlander is releasing as well. So they're both a load of fun. So yeah, check it out if you want a Highlander or a Doctor Who fix.
There you go. So Dwayne has been very
Right.
conveniently checking.
I just checked what I did. I can't believe I had that complete mental blank. But we recently dropped a special on Jean Marsh. So we were looking at the companion chronicle stories from Big Finish that she did as a review. We had Simon Gurria, who wrote them, join us for the whole episode. But we also had tributes from Sophie Aldred and Sylvester McCoy jumped on and had a brief chat with us too. So
Brilliant.
jump over and have a look at that. Good stuff.
Yes,
Sylvester McCoy told a great story that I hadn't heard before about the first time he met Jean Marsh.
Because I saw that is a thumbnail. I saw it must have been your advert for it, and I could see Sophie Aldred and Sylvester, and I thought, I know you've met them and that, and I thought, are there clips from earlier? This is new material.
No, brand new for this for the Jean Marsh episode.
Well
Brilliant.
done,
Check
well
that out,
done.
yeah.
Yeah, so there you go, folks. There's your weekend sorted out. In between that, you'll have to watch the episode 3, of course, of The Well.
Some of you will.
Well, and if you don't want surprises, because as RTD says, it'll be all over Twitter and everywhere. There's going to be a killer reveal. So if you want to get in there early, you need to get in there early. So we're on for 5:45 on Sunday, giving it the full works. On Saturday, on Who Night, we'll give it the full raw reaction. And I wonder what it's going to be like. It'll be really interesting. But today was the detox. Thank you for your time, everybody. I think it's time for a tunnel sequence. Bye, everyone.
See ya.
Let's get the Lux out of here.